This is Scammed in Their Own Words, a Joe Knows Better conversation with people like you who may have never thought they'd be involved in a scam, but it happened. Some lost thousands of dollars. Others got out before they lost anything. And all are sharing their stories to keep you from the same fate. I'm Joe Ducey with the Better Business Bureau. Today talking with Kirstin. Kirstin, thanks for taking the time to talk with us.
Absolutely.
Let's start at the beginning here. All right. So, this involved a job-related thing, correct?
Yes.
All right. Did you have a resume out? Were you looking for work? Kind of start us from the beginning.
No, I wasn't. I had a medical procedure.
Okay.
And the doctor's office asked me to do a review on them, which I did. At the end of the review, they asked if I would be interested to do more reviews. I said, sure. About a week later, I got an email from a company saying, oh, hey, come join our evaluation team. Mm. And I was like, all right, sure. Thought it was related.
Yeah, to the doctor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the timing was pretty dead on. I went to the website. It was a little odd, name, age, bank. They wanted my bank name. And I was like, yeah, I'll tell you that if I get hired. Got an email saying, hey, you got hired. I was like, all right, what now?
So you have a procedure. You're expecting a review for the doctor. This timing is just right. You get an email and it says, what did it say? Did it say that this was a review, or did it say possibility of a job? How did that get into the
company
job?
The company was called Ultimate Evaluations.
Okay.
And so they're like, hey, come join our team and do evaluations on companies.
Got it. Okay.
I mean, it reviews, evaluations. I was like, oh, this is.
Sounds like it'd be a great gig if you could do it from home. In fact, we're hearing a lot of those kinds of things. This seems to be the new way that scammers are working. You do reviews from your house, so it's easy and you make a lot of money, they say, by doing these reviews. So, all right, so you got this, and you're thinking, okay, well, possibly, right, because of the timing of it.
Yeah.
All right, so what did you do then?
They're like, oh, you got hired. Do you want to work for us? I was like, yeah, sure. And then like, oh, we sent you payment. And I was like, what? That's a little weird. So I just kind of ignored that email. Then the next email was something to the tune of, we're sending you the information packet. I'm like, okay, cool. That must be like the paperwork they need me to fill out for the employment. And then they said something about payment again. And I was thinking, okay, well, maybe like a payment card, hey, go to the store, buy this thing, review us. Here's how you're going to pay for it, sort of a thing.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, right. I mean, but there's a few typos and grammatical errors, and I was like, all right, AI is everywhere, maybe.
Yeah. And it seems like one of them came from a brewery, it said, right? And it was actually a legitimate brewery. But being misused. Yeah, go ahead. No worries. Further down the story, okay.
I get an email.
Don't jump ahead then. I'm sorry. I'm jumping you ahead, and I'm all anxious to hear about all this. So, yeah, go where you were. I'm sorry. So
Yeah, no worries.
All right.
They ended up emailing me and saying, hey, we sent you a payment. Have you received it? I was like, what? No, I haven't received anything. And then like a couple days later, I ended up coming home and my husband found like a U.S. postal letter mail, like a flat letter in our backyard. And I was like, what's that? I was like, Gillette Brewing Company. I was thinking, did I order stickers? I don't order anything. And I get it inside and I open it up and there's a check from University of Texas, San Antonio for $4,800 and like a printed up piece of paper from Ultimate Evaluations giving me instructions. I was like, what is this? And, they sent me another email. They were like, we sent it to you. Why are you like, why aren't you responding to us? And I was like, I don't have anything in my mailbox, because that's not a lie, right? Semantics maybe, but not a lie. And, they gave me the tracking number. I was like, yep, you're right. It says it was delivered to my mailbox. There's no package in my mailbox. They asked me to ask my neighbors. I'm like, I'm not asking my neighbors.
So at this time, you're not thinking payday, $4,800.
No. I honestly, I was like really confused, and I was thinking more like, what the, So I ended up calling University of Texas, talked to somebody in like their accounting fraud department just to verify that the check was, and they're like, oh, did you have a procedure? And I was like, nobody there owes me money. I'm not in Texas. And talked to them, gave them the check number, and they're like, we don't even have that check number. Sent a picture of the check to the accounting gal, and she's like, those aren't even our checks. We don't bank at that bank. I was like, okay, cool. Looked at the postage. The postage actually came from Las Vegas, but it was printed up to come from Wyoming.
All right. So this time you got postage from Vegas. You've got a brewery. It's a real brewery, but being misused. So it's not part of the fraud, but they're taking a legitimate name, Wyoming. And then you've got a check from Texas.
Right.
So you've got a tri-state thing going here.
More than that.
Okay.
More than that. So, and my husband actually caught it. So in the letter, they told me to take the check, deposit it to my bank, withdraw $4,000, keeping the $800 for my time, and go to my nearest postal retailer and buy postal money orders, 4 of them. And then I was supposed to text my batch editor at this phone number. And then after I bought the postal orders, I was supposed to text him at another phone number. My husband actually caught that the phone numbers were different phone numbers. One was in New York, and one was in maybe Tennessee.
Yeah. So now you're at 5 states.
Right.
It was a big operation. God.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm okay. I just went ahead and told the people that, hey, my mails got stole before. I'm going to call the Postal Service and file a claim. What was in there? Check number, all that. And they had no qualms telling me, here's the check number, here's the amount. And so I did file with the post office because, hey, they're using the post office, and they're wanting me to go buy postal money orders. So Postal Service can get involved in that.
Yes. But so your job was supposed to be reviewing, and the review was supposed to be the post office and how they handled basically you sending money to these scammers. God.
Yeah, and
it's brilliant.
It is because if I were to have deposited that check into my account and then withdrawn $4,000, I do believe I would end up being liable for that $4,000.
Yeah.
Because the check that they sent was fraud. So I ended up calling the bank that the check was related to, which is an actual bank in Texas. Told them the information, the account number, and they said they already had that account flagged for fraud.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you did a lot of due diligence here. I mean, you're making calls across the country.
I did. I was a little upset. I was a little upset, and then I filed complaints with the Better Business Bureau, the post office, and then there was a third one that I can't remember the name of.
Okay. Well, for folks listening, Kirstin filed a complaint with the Scam Tracker here, and that's how I was able to get her name. And she also helped people by, if you go to Scam Tracker, look it up, bbb.org. It's a great place to go to find these kinds of scams. So if you get a call like this, you can, before you answer, you can look at some of these things, put in like, employment or mail or something, and these things will come up and it'll be like, that's exactly what they were saying to me. And then maybe, you may not fall for it. That's hopefully the goal. So in this case, you didn't. You didn't put that money in the account. You just said bye-bye to these guys.
Yeah. And I mean, I got to say, $4,800 for doing nothing and claiming I didn't get it, it's kind of tempting, right?
So you could see how people might go for this.
Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely. But you know what? In the long run, it's not honest and it's going to be way more headache than that money would be worth.
Yeah. And in these cases that I've seen, the checks are always bad. And the thing I don't quite get sometimes is why it takes so long. It really isn't that long, but when everything's so instantaneous otherwise, it's like 3 days or something for the bank to find out the check is bad. So by the time you've sent your good money away, you don't know that the check, it's still kind of, in limbo, and then you find out a couple of days later that it's bad. If you knew right away that the check was bad, you did it. You called the bank and they told you. But a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. So in my head, initially I was thinking University of Texas, maybe they're running like, because it was like from the mental health or the medical, I don't remember, but it was something to do with that. And I was like, oh, well, maybe they're doing like a survey to see, like how with it people are.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It was too much. It was too weird.
Yeah. I tell people, and if you're listening, if you get a check for work you haven't done up front, it's a fraud. People don't pay that way, and so that's the biggest thing that I've just seen over time. And though that check's going to turn out to be bad, your good money is going to be gone. And the problem with it many times is that people don't have enough. I'm not saying you, but people don't have enough in their account, and they depended on that $4,800 check. So then they're bouncing checks because they expected to have that money, and then it becomes this cycle. I mean, it's a little easier to take if you have a certain amount of money. You don't have to depend on that bad check, but still, it's going to be bad. So, yeah. What have you learned from this? Have you talked to any friends about it? Is this the first time this happened to you? Had you heard about it before and thought that would never happen to me? I would never, no. And did you feel differently once you got into it?
So many good questions. Yeah, like I was, like I said, I was very upset, which is why I went ahead and blasted them everywhere. Told my friend, I was like, oh, can you believe this? Why would they do that? But it was an entirely weird situation. And the only reason why I went for it was because I did the legitimate review on my medical provider.
Yeah.
And just the timing of it was impeccable, which, by the way, the medical reviews, they've not offered me anymore. So, it's like,
that was it.
Yeah, that was it. Which, I mean, rightfully so. I haven't needed to go back, but
yeah.
It was the only reason why I even entertained the email is because of the timing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I was very irritated. I was like, okay, you guys totally wasted my time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess
for nothing.
I guess I think when I tell people, I see, we had a lot of people when I worked, previously in with consumer issues involving with a television station. Well, we had a lot of people who'd come up and say, why would no, but I would never have gotten involved in that. Now, yours is different because of the timing and all, but I would never have done that. But then, when they see it on air, then though they'll come into the office, hey, I got this thing in the mail and it looks like it's a certain amount of money. And what I'm thinking maybe, so it's like, I think people many times think, I would never get involved with that. And then it happens to them, and then they're concerned, and sometimes they get involved. In this case.
Yeah. I mean, it's super tempting.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's a really big payday for not a lot of work. And then you just kind of got to remove yourself from it and think about it logically.
Yeah. And it's understandable why people, pursue some of these things.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And the other thing is sometimes is and I see with these scams is that people get involved in the scam and they lose a certain amount of money, and now they're like, okay, now I've got skin in the game. Now I've given them $300, $400. I have to get that back. And the more they deal with these scammers who know how to deal with it, they lose more and more and more instead of just kind of getting out of it and taking their losses. But that's tough to do.
It is tough. And I mean, like I said, that check was really tempting. But
that's $4,800. That's a nice little trip. Nice little vacation.
It is. It's a lot of bills to pay.
A lot of bills to pay. Yeah, probably more importantly.
But it's I told someone about it, and they were like, well, what happens if you cash it? I was like, chances are I got to pay it all back.
Yeah, because they're not going to, it's going to be bad. What did they do? When you ended it, did they say anything to you? Did they give you grief? Did they just end?
Excuse me. They kind of ended it.
Okay.
Because I was talking with them about about what they wanted me to do with this money. They're like, oh, the check for, $4,800. And I was like, wow, $4,800. That's an awful lot. What am I supposed to do with it? So at this point, I know it's a scam. And I was like, come on, incriminate yourself, and I'm going to go to the police.
Yeah.
And they just stopped talking to me.
Another thing is, and this is just a review, but it also seems in some of these situations, in many of these employment situations, they never really interview you, and you never see the person face to face. So in the review, it's a little bit different, but in most of these employment scams, I think all of them, they never actually see you and you never see them, which doesn't seem to make a lot of sense if you're hiring somebody for your company.
True.
True. Reviews, it's a little different because you're kind of behind the scenes. But if you have a job, and whatever it's supposed to be, and you want to talk to the person. And usually, it's all done by WhatsApp or something like that. So that's another red flag, I think, for people. What advice would you give? I guess as like a kind of a last remark here. And this one, it seemed, I guess, kind of obvious: money for nothing. But you did the things. I guess you made the calls. Is that kind of what you tell people to do?
Yeah, I mean, if people are sending you money, think like the old email scam about the Saudi prince.
Mm.
Hey, my money's tied up. Send me money and I'll pay you back.
Yeah,
they're not going to pay you back. But if somebody's sending you checks and the addresses don't match, the check is from something random, give a call. If the company name should be on the check. The bank name should be on the check.
Mm-hmm.
It took me all of 5 minutes to call them and get verified that it was, in fact, fraud. So just protect yourself.
I am so glad that this was a good story.
No, me too.
That you did not lose the money, because there's so many people who do. Kirstin, thanks again. I really appreciate you taking the time and helping out a lot of people.
Absolutely, Joe. And I do. I hope it helps out.
All right, Kirstin. I'm Joe Ducey with the Better Business Bureau. Listen to all my Joe Knows Better podcasts at joeknowsbetter.bbbcommunity.org and go to the Joe Knows Better Facebook page as I work to help businesses and consumers get it right. See you next time.